Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Joe and Joe Weather Show on this Monday night, the 9th of August, brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York, on Long Island, for everything you need from mulch to gravel, topsoil, hardware, of course, and maybe some emergency preparedness supplies as we get deeper into the hurricane season. 631-756-1125 is the phone number. The best prices in town, and you got to shop around, folks, because it is expensive out there. And Omni does have the best prices in town. OmniTrueValue.com. Wholesale holiday lighting by Giannini, because we are every day one day closer to the holiday season, and they're your complete holiday lighting specialist, meeting all your decorating needs. Whether you want to make your home look like the best Christmas decorated home on the block, or maybe you want to decorate somebody's home and make that home the best decorated house on the block. They're at 162 Ocean Avenue in Lindenhurst, New York, on Long Island, 631-957-5106. And the website there is liholidaylighting.com. Two super chat hits before we get going. Robert Russo and Anthony Orr, both hitting super chat tonight, Joseph. So that's a nice thing, and we thank them most sincerely.
Well, I thank you.
Yeah.
And I thank you for pointing that out, because I haven't had a chance to see the chat board, but we always like to thank our viewers who hit super chats for us, and we greatly appreciate it, more than you ever will know, I might add.
Yes. So let's start off with potential tropical cyclone 6, and let's see what they did. Whether they did anything at 8 o'clock. They were talking about maybe putting up a tropical storm watch, and it still is potential tropical cyclone 6 at 14.7, 60.1. And top winds are 35 miles an hour, moving west-northwest at 15. It's been slowly getting better organized today, Joe. It still looked kind of on the broad side, and I guess they're just sort of waiting for a low-level center to close off and a few gales to be reported. But the conditions are marginally favorable for it to strengthen a bit, but I have to tell you, there's a lot of uncertainty here with this west-northwest track that's being forecast by the Hurricane Center. I mean, it takes it right, it touches the western part of Puerto Rico on their track, and then goes right over the entire island of Hispaniola from one end to the other, and then straddles the north coast of Cuba. I mean, that's going to really make, if it does become a tropical storm, it's hard to imagine how it's going to get much beyond it, because the islands alone with that terrain are going to make it very difficult.
Now, have you been trying to, you've been going into a dissertation here about this potential tropical storm or this tropical cyclone. Have you been showing maps?
I just put them up. I'm just having an ever so slight technical issue, and it's with my brain. Okay. But
all right.
The map is up there, so it didn't.
Interestingly, in terms of the named tropical systems, we are running about a month behind last year. Last year at this time, we were just getting over Isaias, and in a couple of days, the 11th of August, we had tropical storm Josephine. Well, here we are. All we have now so far is the E storm. This storm, if it does indeed develop, will become the F storm Fred. Normally, on average, we don't see the F storm until about the 8th of September, Joe. So this is interesting. We're running about a month ahead of what is nominal, or what is normal in terms of the number of tropical cyclones, but we are running about a month behind where we were last year. And of course, last year we had 30 or 31 name systems, including a few using the Greek alphabet. So it's not quite as active so far as it was last year, but it is above normal, or more active than normal compared to where we should be in terms of tropical activity.
Right, and we've been talking about the fact with this in terms of what's going on in the upper atmosphere, uh, where while these tropical waves that were out there to the east for the last several days, kind of straddling, basically threading a very fine needle in between westerly shear that's all over the place north of 20 degrees north, and easterly shear, which is showing up south of 10 along and south of 10 degrees north. So it's kind of in this zone in there where, it's a narrow zone where a system could thrive under the right conditions. It does look on the smallish side when you look at it here on the loop. It also does look like the convection is balling up a little bit on the east side and kind of expanding back westward. So it'd be interesting to see if they do wind up doing something here. They're always looking. What they're going to be looking for on the islands is any kind of a northwest wind. I mean, that'll be the first tip off, and then they'll see if they can get a ship to come in with, some rowboat out there reporting 35 knots or 40 knots, and then they would upgrade it.
Yes, and we're now reaching that point in the calendar. Let's say the 10th of August to the 10th of October, and the 10th of August is tomorrow. For goodness sake, that's the time frame. Those are the 2 months where we see the most action in terms of tropical activity. So here it is. It's been very quiet up until now. Let's see how this all begins to rev up in the coming days and weeks. The peak of hurricane activity traditionally is the 10th of September, and that's just a little over a month away.
That it is. All right, let's look. I got the spaghetti plots, and the models are very, very tight ranges here from the southernmost to the northernmost. And of course, usually the Hurricane Center kind of splits the difference right in the middle. But they stay pretty tight in terms of the forecast right up into about 96 hours. They vary a little bit more, and you would expect that, but not varying for the time frame beyond 96 hours. They are relatively close together, and there seems like they want to take it up over the Keys and maybe up the west coast of Florida. But again, if you if you get a center that develops here and it tracks on this forecast track, let's say we split the difference of all these forecast model tracks. You're taking this across virtually every single major island, the 3 major islands,
Right.
East, Western Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, and Cuba. I will say this, regardless of development with a track like that and the interaction with the mountainous terrain, there's going to be a lot of rain. There's going to be a lot of rain and a lot of flooding for these islands as this system, moves along. So I guess it would be a good thing if it moves along at a decent clip, because if it were to move any slower, that could be really problematic with heavy rainfall on especially for Hispaniola, which has got some pretty high mountaintops there, and you get some lift, and these are situations sometimes under the wrong circumstances that you could get 20 or 30 inches of rain out of it.
Well, that's what basically we're talking about frictional drag. We're talking about wringing out the sponge, so to speak, over all of these islands. Now, the question is, can this? I see it's they say 70%, but I mean, can this get up to the level of a tropical storm? If it does, it's going to be short-lived, because no sooner does it get to tropical storm activity, but as you just pointed out, Joe, it interacts with all of those islands, and that's just going to shred that system to the point where, yeah, there'll be a lot of rain, but in terms of the wind, there's not going to be that much in terms of winds. And it's an outside chance that, we could have a system that, is more or less like a tropical wave or something in terms of providing a lot of rain, not much in the way of significant winds. And we may never see Fred come out of this, but this gives us the best chance, the first chance that we've had in quite a few weeks of seeing a storm actually get christened with a name. And again, that name will be, if it does form, Fred.
Intensity. Fred. Interestingly enough, as I noticed this yesterday, in the intensity models, roughly half the intensity models make it a tropical storm. and the other half don't. I mean, they're
Right.
almost. Let's see, we got one, two, three, four, five, six, seven make it a tropical storm, and one, two, three, four, five don't. So it's not quite if you could take one from, actually, if you look at that CTCI model, which all of a sudden it just shoots up to a tropical storm somewhere between 60 and 84 hours. If you count this the other way and say that it didn't strengthen it there, uh, you're split 6 and 6 going into 60 hours, and then it's 7 versus 5 after that. But one of the things I think we need to pay attention to is the strength of that Atlantic ridge, which is, I believe, going to be critical here. That strong ridge is going to try to push this thing along. If that ridge is a little stronger, then maybe you could wind up with the center going on the southern end of that envelope. And of course, the other option is if it goes a little weaker, you can see it go a bit further to the north. But oddly enough, on the 18Z GFS, it does. You could see that little closed low there going over the southern Leeward Islands, and then emerging on the other side. It's so small. Look at those isobars. It's like almost the head of a pin passing south of Puerto Rico. You could I really have to strain to kind of find it there. And then, of course, once it goes over into the Dominican Republic, that closed isobar is gone. But you follow the rain pattern along. You see that does move along, and eventually it does reform a low once it gets back out into the over the Florida Keys and into the eastern Gulf of Mexico. And from here, we see it going on a track straight northward on this particular run. Interestingly enough, I want to take a look at the wind shear. Let's look at that. Let's see what the upper air looks like, because of the fact that it's just been, the last couple of weeks in particular, it's been kind of messy. And I'm just looking here at 66 hours, Joe. There's quite a bit of shear in the Western Caribbean, in Central and South Florida, into the Bahamas, and also north of the Dominican Republic, just north of Puerto Rico and the northern Leeward Islands. I mean, literally, this thing is threading a needle here with some northwest shear just to its north and west. That northwest shear is probably part of the reason why the thunderstorms, the system is on the smallish side. And I'm looking at this and I'm thinking the outflow pattern here is not very good. It just isn't. It's not too shabby between now and say tomorrow night, but after that, between the land interaction and all that wind shear going on, it just seems to me this is going to be problematic to develop. Now, when we get into the Gulf of Mexico, I want to take a look here, because there is a upper low sitting over central Georgia, and there's some southwest winds. You kind of need this upper low. When you get ideal strengthening conditions, usually what happens is these upper lows and way up in the atmosphere, and I'm circling the one that's over Georgia, you want to get those upper lows to kind of drop down to the south and west of the actual tropical system, because that creates a very, very strong outflow pattern for these storms, so that the air is evacuated efficiently. And that's when you usually see rapid strengthening. But I'm looking at this, and I'm just not, I don't know, I'm just not seeing it here in the upper air that this system is going to have a favorable pattern to work with as far as strengthening is concerned. So rain may wind up being the bigger deal here.
Yeah, it is. As you mentioned, Joe, it is a tight little storm. And regardless of the size, though, it does carry with it a copious amount of tropical moisture, which, as it gets wrung out again over the islands, will produce areas of, very heavy rains in excess of probably 5 inches or more, and could carry some of that moisture all the way up into Florida. Florida hasn't been all that wet of late, but you kick in a little tropical activity here, and you can very quickly, you'll see that, and maybe even some of that moisture reaches far north as where you are, Joe, up in the the northern half of Georgia
That
eventually.
that could be. Yeah, I'm just reading the discussion from the Hurricane Center because they which this is the first time I'm looking at it. Um, by Wednesday, the system is likely to be near Hispaniola, where subtle differences in the forecast track could have large implications on the intensity of the storm later in the week. Makes sense. A track directly over Hispaniola would likely significantly disrupt the circulation. Yes. While a track more poleward of the island could allow the system to stay more intact. An additional caveat beyond 48 hours is that vertical wind shear out of the southwest may also increase, and that could limit intensity after the system moves past Hispaniola, although uncertainty exists in how much the shear will increase given the differences between the more favorable European and the less favorable GFS. The NHC intensity forecast takes it up to 45 knots before potential land interaction. We can't see the wind shear on the European model on tropical tidbits, but we can at least take a look at what it did in terms of development. And we're looking at I've just pulled up now. This is at 800. This is at 850 millibars or 5,000 feet. So let me bring up the mean sea level pressure map to see what it does. And because these systems tend to be shallow, these hurricanes are tropical storms and hurricanes. The higher up you go in the atmosphere, the less you have to look at. They're shallow systems because they're warm core and they develop from the bottom up rather than from the top. They're strongest at the bottom and weakest at the top, and as opposed to a cold core system in which it's in reverse. Now, interestingly enough, Joe, the European actually does take it. Takes it north of the Dominican Republic and keeps it mostly over open waters through the southern Bahamas, but it never really strengthens. You got a 10-10 low west of Tampa. What are you going to do with that? I mean, that's rain. I mean, that's potentially heavy rains, yes, but in terms of a wind system, there's no development here. So this tells me that the European is probably not showing a very favorable upper air if we were to look at the wind shear profiles of that particular model.
And yeah, that's not going to, certainly in terms of wind, that's not going to cut it. And as far as rainfall, yeah, and yet you'd be surprised if it stays north of Hispaniola, you would expect a more dramatic intensification. Keeping its feet wet, so to speak.
But not if
kind of
it's
surprising.
but not if it's under 25 or 30 knots of wind shear of
Right,
west
exactly.
southwest winds.
Exactly. So
Precisely, Robin.
precisely.
All right.
So
In the meantime, we'll see what happens overnight. If we wind up seeing this thing organize a bit more, maybe it becomes a tropical storm. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it goes over the Dominican Republic. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it goes over Puerto Rico. Maybe it doesn't. So those are, I guess, are all questions for us come tomorrow. But certainly we'll keep our eyes on. In the meantime, I'm going to load up the 18Z GFS back home here and roll back to 6 hours. And while it's doing that, let's take a look at what's happening right now. And brother, what a disaster weather-wise yesterday over Long Island and part extreme southern New England, Joe. 2 to 3 inches of rain. There was flooding. It was an absolute soaking, horrible day. And yet you go just maybe 60 miles or so to the west in parts of in northwest New Jersey and over into Pennsylvania. It was partly to mostly sunny for a good chunk of the day. This pesky little low really turned out to be, it was a small rainmaker over a small amount of geography, but when it's over your geography on a summer weekend, you're not happy.
yeah, I tell you, Joe, I was in Vermont over the weekend, and I was driving down Interstate 91 and then cut across to I-84 through Connecticut. And the worst that we had was just some occasional or intermittent light rain or light rain drops. We really didn't see very much of anything. And I might also point out that back at the end of last week, it looked like we were going to have a backdoor front, which would make it all the way down into the New York metropolitan area by this morning by Monday morning.
Right.
But that front kind of washed out because of that little small, low pressure system off of the Jersey Shore that kind of precluded that front from going very far south or even developing in any way, shape, or form. And you're right. I mean, places that were close to that storm center along the immediate Jersey coast, central and eastern Long Island, got all that rain, but you didn't have to go too far north and west of the circulation to get either just a little bit of rain or absolutely nothing.
Hmm. And southern south. Let me start that again. Southern New England, southeastern New England, and Long Island today sat in a lot of clouds. There was some bands of heavy rain that moved up into parts of eastern Connecticut, Rhode Island, and southeastern Mass. Uh, just this sort of narrow band. A couple of other scattered showers around, but you could still see that low-level swirl that's just sitting. This is a very minor-looking system in terms of pressure, but it just, if you got caught under that band yesterday, you got clobbered. In the meantime, two things of note is that we do have some showers and thunderstorms developing tonight in parts of the Midwest. We're going to take a look at those, but there's so much smoke on that milky white that you see on the satellite across the plains, kind of extending back through Colorado and Utah. It's like a sort of a narrow band there that goes all the way to the Northern California coast. That's all smoke. All of this is smoke. It's I don't know. It just doesn't. We need a super strong cold front and a really deep trough to just kind of clean this all out of here. But that's not coming anytime soon. But we've been dealing with the smoke now for how many weeks? What, the last 3 or 4 weeks?
At least last 3 or 4 weeks, yeah. And I have my daughter is out in the western states. She was at Yosemite just a few days ago. Sent us some pictures. You could see the haze. You could see the smoke. She took a picture of the sun. I'm not sure if it was just after sunrise or just before sunset, but it looked like you were looking at it through one of those red filters. It was so even out west, where you would normally go to get cleaner air or brighter skies, out there, the smoke is doing its job and unfortunately making for a very, well, somewhat murky kind of sky.
Ugh. All right, radar wise tonight, and in the Northeast, there we go. Some rain over eastern Massachusetts. The maps being very difficult tonight, and just some scattered showers. Some of this is probably aloft in Long Island Sound and back over to about New York City and maybe up in northeastern New Jersey. You're seeing a couple of showers and looks like a little thunderstorm cell there just west of Scranton. In Chesapeake Bay, we're seeing a big thunderstorm, looks like just south and east of Washington, D.C. Little arm of showers and a couple of thunderstorms moving through eastern Ohio, also down into parts of south central Kentucky, north central Tennessee. Ooh, there's a shower. There's a little thunderstorm not too far away from me, Mr. Rayo. Oh, and by the way, while you were away over the weekend, my low on Saturday morning was, I believe, 56, 57, with a dew point of 56. And yesterday morning, I think my low was about 59 or 60. The mornings here have been just so wonderful. They really
You were
have.
probably cooler. You were probably cooler than where I was up in Vermont, for God's sake.
Cooler and drier. I mean, the dew points
Yeah.
here, there was a narrow area of dry air that basically came down the Appalachian Mountains. And where I am, because the mountains are to my north, so the higher peaks are to my north, with a northeast wind, that's downslope for me. So that dries it out. So that was quite. It was more of a north wind, I should say, not a northeast wind, but a north wind coming down, and it's downslope. So that air was very, very dry. Seeing some showers along the west coast of Florida, one or two rumbles of thunder there. An arc of showers across the Great Lakes. We do have a small tornado watch, and actually, at the moment, taking a look at this, there's 2 tornado warnings just outside of Chicago. So why don't we check out Tornado HQ and see what's going on there? This is, by the way, we're at 8:26 Eastern time. If you're keeping score, you're watching this on a replay, remember, you want to go to weather.gov to your local National Weather Service office to get the latest on any severe weather that might be impacting your particular area. There is two tornado warnings up west of Chicago. So we have one. I have to pull up the whole warning text so I can read where this is. East Central Kane County in northeastern Illinois and northwestern DuPage County in northeastern Illinois. So, DuPage, I believe, is is not too far from Chicago. And they had a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado indicated in their tornado warning. There was another one to the southwest of there in southeastern Iowa where a tornado was actually a confirmed tornado located near Lamoille, Moille, or about 8 miles northeast of Princeton, Iowa, moving east at 25 miles an hour. This was issued. This is for Northeastern Bureau County, Bureau. I guess that's how you say it, unless it's Bureau. What do you think? Bureau?
You have to be a native.
Yeah.
The natives know how to say it.
Northeastern Bureau is how you spell it. In north central Illinois. Okay, so that county is in north central Illinois, so I stand corrected. Near Lamoille or about 8 miles northeast of Princeton, a damaging tornado, and this is in effect until it'll be near Ladd. It's actually in 2 minutes. It will be near Ladd, Illinois, Ladd, at 7:30 p.m. And this expires at 8 p.m. Central Time, so 9 o'clock Eastern Time.
Our time.
Yeah, remember, folks, weather.gov, if you're watching this at 11 o'clock tonight or you're watching this overnight, because you want to make sure you got the latest information. And I did notice that there was some more severe weather going on, so let's take a look. Let me widen this out. Yeah, up in North Dakota, we really don't talk about North Dakota very much in the winter. More in the wintertime than in the summertime. But they have a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado located near Starkweather, or 22 miles north of Devil's Lake. Devil's Lake, North Dakota, I've heard of, moving northeast at 30 miles an hour. The Storm Prediction Center, by the way, has a small area of slight risk and a small tornado watch up for northern Illinois and northwestern Indiana, inside a larger area of marginal risk, and also slight risk in eastern North Dakota, western Minnesota, and a small portion of northeastern South Dakota. But take a look at tomorrow. Kind of interesting for tomorrow across the Great Lakes. If the map would load, there it is. Enhanced severe weather risk in the southern half of Wisconsin, northern Illinois, including Chicago, eastern Iowa, and a big area of slight risk that covers just about all of the Great Lakes and a good chunk of the Ohio and Mississippi River valleys. So very interesting here. And by the way, they also have a marginal risk down the Hudson River to about western New Jersey, southeastern PA, including Maryland, northern Virginia, down into all of Tennessee. The marginal risk is actually not too far away from me. At least the southern flank of this is not too far from me. But that's a fairly impressive looking area of risk for tomorrow. Let me check out the tornado risk, Joe. Just a 2% chance of tornado risk, even though and that's inside that enhanced risk zone.
2%. At least it's not like one of those enhanced zones of 5%.
No, and we saw what happened here when they had that 5% up a couple of weeks ago.
Exactly.
What's it up to now? I think it's up to 10 confirmed tornadoes. I know I've read a few people were saying that this might have been one of maybe the biggest tornado outbreak for Eastern Pennsylvania and for Eastern Pennsylvania and Central and South Jersey on weather records.
Yeah, like I said, we said way back when they posted that day that there was enhanced activity. That doesn't happen too often. That happens about as frequently as now we go back to before they came up with the new categories for severe weather. I mean, back in the day, it used to be just simply slight, moderate, and high, and enhanced now is kind of like the equivalent of in the old days seeing moderate risk. You didn't see that very often, but when you did see it, your eyes opened wide and you said, "Uh-oh, we are in trouble." And indeed, the folks in eastern Pennsylvania and parts of New Jersey did get into trouble when that outbreak took place. By the way, Joe, on the chat board, Owen McShane just hit super chats, and he's
Oh,
asking, got any advice for a first year college student going into meteorology? And he's going into probably the best school for meteorology at Penn State. And my question to Owen McShane would be, what are you precisely looking into or looking for once you get that degree handed to you? Or do you want to be a forecaster at a National Weather Service office? Do you want to be a media, radio, television forecaster?
you
Or
don't
do you
want to
want to
be a
just,
media or television forecaster.
well,
Actually, I'm sorry. I don't want to do. Far be it from me to discourage anyone that wants to go into television and radio. If that's what you want to do, go for it. Hey, you never know. You might land a good job in a big market.
I don't want to sound, and I don't want to discourage Owen, and I don't know what, how he might feel about something like this. But the thing is, and it's the gosh darnest truth, it's if you want to get into television meteorology, you will attract attention if you perhaps look like someone who just stepped off the cover of GQ magazine. You have an inordinate better chance of getting a job in television weather as opposed to somebody who might know everything and everything about meteorology, synoptic meteorology, but doesn't look, quite as striking. The packaging is the packaging is practically as important, if not maybe even more important, than what you have inside of your cranium. So, like I said, I don't want to sound like prejudicial or biased, but really that is what television is all about,
I
at least
mean,
now.
that's the reality. The upside, the upside, and the good news is that there are so many stations and so many um, so many more potential jobs available, especially in smaller markets where you can go and you know get your feet wet and get rid of your greenness, if you want to call it that. When you start out, you know, although in the kids that come, the graduates that come out of college today in the media world, I mean, a lot of these, almost all of these colleges and universities have television and radio and broadcasting setups that are in some places are even more superior than some of the standard television stations that are in the market. And you'll take advantage of those communication uh, opportunities in school to do some TV and radio there, because that'll give you a big leg up if you can get rid of the greenness while you're in school. And I've seen a lot of kids, Joe. They come out of college, and you watch them, and you watch their delivery, and you think that they've been working for 10 years. They're
Right.
good. It's not like you and I in our day when that didn't exist. The kids that come out are, they put through a good media program in a lot of these schools, and you combine it with a good meteorology program, and you can come out with pretty savvy uh, air work and find yourself landing a job a lot quicker than you might think.
Well, on the chat board, Owen McShane says, I'm thinking of going into research or being a forecaster at the NWS, which
Oh,
means that
good.
he would be going into,
Then you don't have to worry about makeup.
then you can become a GF, what is it, a GS5 or a GF7 or whatever. The only
I
things you
think
have to do, if you
you
want to be a
started at 7.
forecaster, the only thing that you need to be concerned about, Owen, if you become a forecaster, is you got to learn about swing shifts, where you'll be working like a 2 a.m. to 10 a.m. job 3 days or 4 days a week or whatever. And then all of a sudden, after a day or two off, you're suddenly put into the afternoon shift. And believe me, once you get used to it, you don't know where the heck you're going in any direction. because you're never at a set time. You're always working a different shift in a different week or whatever. Maybe what we ought to do, Joe, is we ought to ask our friend over at the National Weather Service in Upton to come on and talk about his experiences of being a forecaster at NWS. And
Oh, I'll see what I can do about that.
Mr. Goodbody or Mr.
Yes,
Goodman or whatever.
Goodman. Yes, we'll see.
Yeah.
We see what we can do. He's been busy. He's been pretty busy personally lately, but I'll reach out to him and see what he says. Bill Rogers, I'm not in long sleeves. I'm in short sleeves. Mhm. Uh, You'll see me in long sleeves in my sweatshirts soon enough when we get into September and October. And Jess Hard says, "What is y'all's opinion on this summer being so mild for Alabama?" Well, I have to tell you, since I'm living next door in North Georgia, I am loving every minute of this summer. It gets hot for a couple of hours in the afternoon, but with the temperature, especially if you go into my local town, which is in more of a valley, so it does get hot there. Or if you're standing on the blacktop outside of Home Depot, you can really feel the heat coming off the blacktop. But away from that, it's been delightful. I mean, this really has been an interesting summer down here. Now, of course, I'm in the mountains. I did notice you go south of here and you go from Atlanta southward, and they've already had their fair share of 90s, but it hasn't been really inordinately hot. We haven't had any temperature. We haven't had any days in the mid to upper 90s that I could recall. That I'm trying to recall over the last couple of months. But there's still the rest of this month and a good chunk of the month of September before the first really solid, juicy cold front makes it this far south. So I'm loving it. I don't know if there's any implications in terms of the overall pattern, by the way, because I know that's really where this question is going. Because I know Jess wants it to snow in Alabama any chance it can get, but no way to make that connection. And also for other parts of the Northeast and Mid Atlantic states, there's no way to make any connection with what's going on now and what may go on down the road, at least from the way I see things. And I'm not a long range guy, by the way. So,
By the way, Joe, when you were your days at Pix 11, do you remember somebody working at Pix 11? He was a behind the scenes person. He might have been a director or whatever. Russell Cooper.
Oh yeah, no, I know Russ. Yes, Russ, of course. You know who Russell's dad was, don't you?
No, Gary.
Jackie Cooper.
Jackie Cooper.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
we had some. Russell and I had some nice conversations. Great guy.
Right.
Well, what about Russell?
Well, he on Twitter he posted for some of us who are watching television weather, piece of sad news. Erica Grow, and Erica used to be at NBC4, and then she ended up doing occasional work as a fill-in at Pix 11, and it was announced last night that she is leaving Pix 11 and she has gotten a full-time position over at AccuWeather in Pennsylvania, which is good news for her, but I think sad news for all of us who, watch TV weather in the New York metropolitan area. If you ever saw Erica's presentation, she was polished. She was sharp. She knew her thing. She knew her stuff. She's AMS certified meteorologist, certified broadcast meteorologist. But last night was her last night in the New York market. She is leaving. She's going to Pennsylvania. So we wish Erica well. And on his Twitter page is a picture of Russell Cooper standing with Erica side by side with a weather map behind him. And Russell Cooper referred to her as the great Erica Grow.
Oh,
And
nice.
again,
Good for her.
She was very, very good.
Good for her. Alaska Railroad says he normally gets his first snow around September. Well, pretty soon. And no, I do not shop at the Piggly Wiggly, Bill Rogers. I've actually haven't seen a pig. I don't think the Piggly Wiggly, I think, is more in South and North Carolina than it is here. I haven't seen a Piggly Wiggly here.
Well, I remember Piggly Wiggly made a brief guest appearance, or a truck for Piggly Wiggly, in Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yes, it
Um,
is.
but
All right,
anyway,
let's roll back to SPC and see what they're doing. We saw what they're doing for tomorrow, so into Wednesday. Oh, good Lord, come on. Sorry about this, folks. Just give me a second. Just trying to switch maps, and I'm on the. I fired the trigger just a little bit too soon. Now here, why is it doing this? Oh,
I don't
come
know. We're stuck on a radar map right now,
on.
a non-moving radar map, at least from my perspective.
No, you shouldn't be. I brought up. Well, that's the lag. There we go. Finally. All right. Here's the Storm Prediction Center's forecast now for day 3. Oh, stop it! You silly web browser! Don't do that. These switches on these things. These things have a mind of their own. Western New York, northwestern Pennsylvania. So this is Wednesday into Thursday. Just about all of Ohio, Indiana, and Illinois, except the extreme southern parts of those states. So it kind of goes back into the middle Mississippi Valley and then shoots northeastward to cover the Great Lakes. Just an area of marginal risk. WPC rainfall over the next 7 days. Down in Florida, showing an area of 3 to 5 inches plus for Central and South Florida. So you can assume that the bulk of this is probably coming from whatever tropical system winds up coming into the northeastern Gulf of Mexico, assuming that it does. But if you look at how WPC has the rainfall lined up, you would think that they're probably thinking something that goes over the Keys and maybe straddles the west coast of Florida. Meanwhile, up and down the East Coast from Long Island and northern New Jersey southward, it's anywhere from 3/4 of an inch to 1.5 inches. A couple of 2 to 3 inch pockets in the western Carolinas, and a little monsoon action in southern Arizona and New Mexico. Not too much in the southern and central plains. Great Lakes rainfalls, some places dry, like in southeastern Michigan, with less than 1/2 inch, but everywhere else between 1/2 inch to as much as 1.5 inches in some places. You see those concentrations in around Chicago. There's that pesky little low, Joe. It's still there. It's still there, sitting out south of Islip and east of Sandy Hook. It's barely moved since yesterday. Barely a closed isobar around it. But I'm looking at these 5 o'clock temperatures where it reached near 90 in south central PA, southeastern PA, down into Maryland, and of course, Long Island, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts today, struggling only in the low to mid 70s.
Just one little dinky low. Sometimes it's not the full-scale mega systems that do the worst harm or the worst damage. It's those little tiny little,
Yeah.
the localized systems that are the ones that do you in. And this is a prime example, especially if you lived out in the beautiful country of the eastern section of Long Island, the Hamptons. I'm sure they will long remember yesterday in terms of weather.
Yeah, I'm
better luck next weekend.
Through the mid-Atlantic and southeast. This is at 5 o'clock this afternoon. We've temperatures in the upper 80s and to near 90. I mean, this is nothing really spectacular in terms of heat. Down into Georgia, about the same thing, upper 80s to near 90. In the mountains, I'm looking at some of these obs near Asheville, only got to 83. So that probably means that where I am in Blairsville, probably only got to about 85 or so. And then you start to see some middle 90s in places up in northwest Alabama and northeastern Mississippi. I mean, this is just, again, it's really just typical stuff that we're seeing in terms of these August conditions. There's nothing really overly unusual about it. And just running through the GFS here, Joe, I think this low finally gets kicked out tonight. So it should finally improve for those coastal areas that have been socked in with clouds. But everywhere else, it'll probably be the third very warm to hot and humid day. I threw in maybe a chance of an inland pop-up shower or thunderstorm isolated for tomorrow. For late Wednesday, maybe a slightly better chance well inland. And on Thursday, possibly there's a little, I don't know, there's a trough or a little weak front that approaches Thursday night. And then another front Now it looks like, it was trying to show a stronger front coming through on Friday. And now the GFS sort of backed off on that. It doesn't really show very much. But it does show another front kind of getting hung up near the coast over the weekend. And then, of course, you start to see what that tropical system comes into the Florida Panhandle. Not really well developed, but you can watch the rain with it and just kind of carries it northward. It actually goes up west of the Appalachians, if you want to believe it. Way too early to figure this out. Just way too early.
The sad part about all this is that there is a nice batch of cool, dry, pleasant air that, as I speak to you now, Joe, is beginning or trying to begin to build over in the prairie provinces of Canada, the area around Alberta and Saskatchewan. And unfortunately, as we move through the week, thanks to the fact that that subtropical high is just strong enough off of the mid-Atlantic coast and the upper atmosphere to cause all of that nice, dry, fresh, clean air to almost like shear off to the north. It gets about as close to us, I guess you could say, sometime late Thursday night or early Friday. It tries to get near. And I've been hearing about, nice drop in the dew points. It's going to turn much more comfortable by the weekend. Quite frankly, I don't see that.
It may not now.
I see a lot of that. I see a lot of that based on the GFS. I see a lot of that dry, fresh air going away up to the north, getting not really closer to us than, let's say, the Upper Peninsula of Michigan or maybe around Montreal. That's it. We stay in the same slimy. Can I use that term to describe the air mass?
If you'd like.
Not slimy.
If you'd like.
The same stuff through the end of the week and right on into the upcoming start of the weekend, unless something dramatic changes. Again, I'm basing this on the latest GFS, the 18Z.
Well, one of the big changes is the fact that the upper air from late last week was showing a much deeper trough, and another one of these troughs dropping down pretty far south for this time of year. But now the model's really sort of backed off on that. Like you said, it just sort of shears away to the northeast. The upper low lifts up. And then I'm looking at this on the new GFS run, Joe. We get into a pretty, nice looking ridge position here along the east coast with higher than normal pressures building up all the way into eastern Canada. We've got a big upper high here in the east starting around, after next Monday. And then continuing, Monday is what? What's today's day? Yeah, next Monday's the 16th. I'm sorry. So starting next Monday and then carrying us through, right through the day 11, day 12, and we're still kind of in a ridge position all the way out to day 16. We're finally on the last day, there's some kind of trough dropping into the Western Lakes, but who knows if that's even real. So,
I mean, now, again, we're talking now I'm mentioning stuff like beyond 200 hours, but, talk about like a week from this Wednesday, the 18th of August, all of a sudden, the heights really start to expand and build. I mean, if you take at face value what the GFS is saying for, not this week, but late next week, like the 18th and 19th of August, we're going to be in some really extreme heat here, possibly. So if you're looking for a break of any kind, if you're looking for some cool, dry Canadian air coming our way, don't hold your breath, because it doesn't look like it's going to happen in the immediate future, and it may not happen until sometime toward the end of the month or maybe the beginning of, dare I say, September.
Well, we're already almost tomorrow's the 10th, so we're already a third of the way through the month of August.
And tomorrow, by the way, is the feast day of St. Lawrence. And somebody was asking on the chat board about meteor showers, the Perseid meteor shower, the annual performance of shooting stars that come our way every year about the middle of August. Back in the day, back in Europe in the 19th century, they always took note of the fact that there was an unusual number of shooting stars or meteors that appeared around St. Lawrence's Day, St. Lawrence's feast day. St. Lawrence was the saint that was martyred. He was griddled to death on a hot gridiron, Joe. In fact, supposedly he said to those who were tormenting him and putting him to death, he said somewhat sarcastically, I'm roasted on one side. Now, if you want me well done, turn me over.
Oh,
Supposedly, according to the legend, the meteors, the shooting stars we saw around the time of his feast day, were the tears, the flaming tears of St. Lawrence. Yes, I could imagine if I were being roasted on a gridiron, I'd be crying too. But anyway, that's what they used to say when they look up into the sky around this time of the year. And if it's clear, somewhat clear, reasonably clear, and if we don't have all that smoke and haze in the air, you might see a few pretty shooting stars later on this week, say Wednesday and Thursday night. Of course, this all hinges upon visibility of the night sky, and the way it looks right now with all of the heat, all of the haze, all of the humidity, and also factor in the smoke coming in from the west, it doesn't look like we may see a lot of anything. But if you want to try late Wednesday night and Thursday night, look into the northeast after about 10 or 11 o'clock, and maybe, just maybe, some of these are really bright shooting stars. So maybe there might be a couple that might cut through all the schmutz and you'll be able to see them. But it'll be tough because the weather this year just doesn't look like it's going to be favorable for sky watching or meteor watching. But that's the way the ball bounces.
yes.
I saw yesterday, Joe, I got real excited. Renata didn't understand why I was getting excited about this. We went to the Vermont Country Store on our way home. We stopped in, I think it was in Rockingham, Vermont.
I think I've been. I think I've been to that.
All kinds of old stuff, old toys, old candies, or whatever like that. And they had a big bin, so to speak, and the bin was filled with stickball bats.
Oh wow!
I mean, not just your broom bats or whatever,
Right.
but I mean real
stickball bats.
And a big barrel of Spalding
balls. Yeah, I was never good at. I could never get a hang of stickball. I was okay with baseball, but I was stickball for some reason. I don't know, was the narrowness of it or what? I never could seem to get a handle on it.
Well, back in the old neighborhood, we called Spalding rubber balls. We called them Spaldines.
Spaldines, yeah, remember Spaldines?
Right, and like Renata, I'm holding one and just bouncing it, watching how nice of it. I mean, these were brand new Spalding rubber balls, perfect for playing stickball. And I'm bouncing them, and Renata just walks up to me and says, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm playing with my Spalding. Look at this."
Out of curiosity, how much?
I never got around to that, but I'll tell you what, everything in that store was way, as far as we were concerned, overpriced. For example, 1 pound block of cheese, and I guess because it was Vermont cheese or whatever, take a guess what they were charging for a 1 pound block of cheese. And no, I wasn't planning to stuff my piccolo with the cheese.
1 pound block of Vermont cheddar cheese?
Yeah, I think that was what it was.
I mean, I probably could get it at Costco for, 10 or 11 bucks.
$24.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
That's ridiculous.
I also had a that's price for Upper West Side New Yorkers who go up to Vermont on the weekends and, think they're doing, they think it's such a big deal.
Right. They even had a radiometer. I don't know if you remember. It looks like a light bulb, and they had like a little pinwheel in the middle. And when you shine it, when the sun shines on the pinwheel, one of the fins is black, and so the pressure of sunlight causes the wheel to start spinning on its own. And I remember seeing a few. I mean, I looked at the radiometer and I said, "Oh, I'd spend about $10 for this. $27 for a radiometer." I said, "You've got to be kidding me! What the heck is this all about?" Or whatever.
It's called tourism, Joe. Tourism.
And when I saw the Spalding or the Spalding, you know who I thought of? Fred Mertz, William Frawley. Remember that episode where after little Ricky was born, Fred comes in with a baseball glove with a baseball in it, and he says to Lucy, he says, "Take a look at the baseball. Greatest player ever played." And she looks at it and says,
"Oh, Spalding."
Spalding.
Yes. Okay. Oh, good Lord. Spaldings. That really brought back some memories. Used to play handball with Spaldings.
Exactly. Now, Bill Rogers says, "Joe Rayo, may I suggest next time you try the Grafton Cheese Company at Route 30, reasonably priced local cheese." But Bill, you don't get this. this store, the Vermont Country Store, had like everything. They had all different kinds of toys and cheeses and delicacies, and I mean everything that I guess was related to, being in Vermont. There was a two-floor country store, so it wasn't just cheeses, but again, everything was pretty much overpriced. I think from our brief encounter with it yesterday. But it was interesting. And I've been to Ben and Jerry's too, William Huber. Sometimes on occasion, when we used to take the kids up to Smuggler's Notch up near Burlington, Vermont, we'd always stop at Ben and Jerry's for. And there was a place too, a friend of mine, Glenn Schneider, called the Cheese House in Vermont. Joe, you'd love this. Outside of the Cheese House, there was nothing but a gigantic. It looked like 20 feet high. A gigantic. It looked almost like a rat with a big smile on its face, eating a piece of cheese. Welcome to the Cheese House.
Yes. I'm having the last couple of days, I've been having problems with some of these websites on my computer running slowly, and one that is having a tough time right now with me is Briller Jeopardy for tonight. Now, tomorrow night, we're going to do a special one, Joe. We're going to do a special Briller Jeopardy suggested by Keith James the second on the chat board. So he's going to have his tomorrow night. Next Monday.
I think I have your.
You have mine? Okay. I have one that was for yesterday, which I didn't get a chance to use. Because I forgot, sadly. But you've got one for me, so you go ahead. So what is it? It's weather songs, I guess, right?
It's a special edition of Briller Jeopardy for Mr. Chiappi, who sang the following 10 weather-themed songs, and a special thanks to Keith James II for suggestion. 7 out of 10 to pass, and who sang the following? Here's song number 1, Joe. I'm doing a very poor imitation of Don Pardo tonight. Number 1, November Rain.
Who sang November Rain?
Correct.
I have, music is definitely not my forte. So I don't expect to do well in this. I have no idea. I know who sang Purple Rain. But not November Rain. I'm going. I'll take a guess. The title sounds like a song that probably came out of the 40s and 40s, maybe. So I'll say Doris Day.
Guns and Roses.
Okay, so
Guns and Roses.
Right. Yeah, no, this category is not going to work well for me. But go on.
Okay, number 2. This is one of my favorite popular songs. I'll give you the hint. It was written and sung in 1975. The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald.
Oh yeah. Oh good God, I know this too. I can hear his voice.
Right.
I can hear the words of the song in my ear right now. I honestly, I don't.
I'll give you a hint. Who did the weather forecast on News Radio 88 radio back in the late 60s and early 70s?
Gordon Barnes.
All right.
Or Gordon Lightfoot.
All right. See, there you go. All right. How about, and you had a company at one time, a private company, Mr. Blue Sky, right?
Right, Blue Sky Communications.
Right.
Didn't go very far, but go on.
That's the name of the song, Mr. Blue Sky.
Mr. Blue Sky?
Not Mr. Bojangles.
I don't know, Joe.
Bojangles.
Doris Day.
The Electric Light Orchestra.
Oh, please. You think I'm going to get that? Stop. It's just not my thing.
Why don't we, I'll tell you what.
No,
Joe,
keep going. No. This is interesting, though. Keep going.
I was going to say, we'll put you out your misery and just simply say the name of the song and then who sang it. Number 4, Riders of the Storm.
Riders of the Storm. The song I know. I don't. I could. I have no memory of who sang it. The,
If you don't use the windows, what do you use to get into the house?
oh, the Doors.
The doors.
Okay.
How about this is a song as a tribute to Marilyn Monroe. Candle in the Wind. You should know this.
Oh, wasn't that Elton John?
Elton John.
Okay.
Okay, so we found out about the candle in the wind. How about the dust in the wind?
Oh, that's Kansas.
That's Kansas. Good.
One of the
So
most
you
one of
know
the
these
most
songs.
overplayed songs in the history of songs. It was a song that in high school every day, every single day in the cafeteria. Go on, next.
How about Thunder Road?
Um, West Virginia, Colorado, take me home. That's Country Road. Thunder Road. Hmm. It's familiar, but I don't know.
If I said two words, the boss, who would it be?
Oh, I'm not a Springsteen fan.
All right, well, it was Bruce Springsteen.
Okay.
How about this? You should know this one. Number 8, Singing in the Rain.
Oh, well, that was from the movie, Singing in the Rain. Did Gene Kelly sing that song in in the movie?
Yes,
Okay.
that's it.
Yeah, he did.
Gene Kelly.
It's actually a very
And
good
number,
movie. I'm not big on musicals, but I did enjoy watching Singing in the Rain. He was an incredible dancer. He was in such terrific shape. And
he
by
was
the
an
way,
incredible
and by
dancer
the
and
way,
actor, too.
I don't want to not give credit to Donald O'Connor and to Debbie Reynolds because they're both phenomenal in that movie.
Okay, great.
And Jean
And
Hagen, who got an Oscar nomination for playing the ditzy silent actress. She really played it over the she played it brilliantly.
well,
I'm
I
done.
think,
I'm
well,
done.
I think everybody talks about Ginger Rogers
Yes.
as being a great dancer. I think somebody who's not mentioned enough and who was a great tap dancer was Eleanor Powell. Have you ever seen Eleanor
It's
Powell?
funny. Well, it's funny you should say that because I'm in the Facebook group of fans of Turner Classic Movies, and actually that conversation took place. Talked about the fact that um, Eleanor Powell technically was, in terms of the technicals of dancing, was better than Ginger Rogers, but there was something about the way Ginger Rogers, when she danced um, with Fred Astaire, that the emotion that she put into it, into the moves, that maybe made Ginger Rogers and Fred Astaire as a pair stand out a bit more than Eleanor Powell.
Well, if you ever get a chance on YouTube, and it is on YouTube, look up Fred Astaire and Eleanor Powell tap dancing the song "Begin to Begin,"
Hmm.
and you want to talk about synchronized swimming. This is synchronized tap dancing at its best.
Yes.
I mean, they both matched step for step. And in fact, I think that while Fred Astaire, rivaled Ginger Rogers in terms of dancing, I think he, in the back of his mind, he probably said, "I can't keep up with this woman, Eleanor Powell." I think Eleanor Powell rivaled even Fred Astaire. But anyway,
The chairman
have
hits.
you ever
Go ahead. I'm sorry. You go.
have no? Well, so you want to talk about the chairman and
No, I just wanted
super
to say the
chat?
chairman hit super chat. Thanks. He says, "Sorry, Joe. Next up, songs of the 30s and 40s." I don't know if I even know most of the singers of those who did the 30s and 40s. Oh, I'm enjoying this. This is fun. They don't have to be. When we do this, we're doing it we do it because we're having some fun and maybe just take us a little bit off topic of what the show's all about. It's fine. It's fine. I get to learn something new. All right, go ahead. What's the next
Yeah.
one?
Number 9 is Have You Ever Seen the Rain?
Have you ever seen the rain? That title is familiar. No, I don't know. Doris Day.
Crete, Crete, Crete,
Creedence Clearwater
Clearwater,
Revival.
what a rival. Yep.
Creedence Clearwater Revival. Okay.
And number 10 is Walking on Sunshine.
Walking on sunshine. Hey, hey. I have no idea. Doris Day.
How about how about if I tell you one of the strongest, if not the strongest, hurricane ever to hit Louisiana and New Orleans?
Katrina? Betsy?
Katrina and the waves.
Katrina and the waves. Joe, I, I've never ever heard of them. But you know something,
And
Joe
here,
Rayo? You did such a marvelous job delivering those questions that Joe Rayo, are the winner of tonight's grand prize. It'll be coming up on the screen momentarily. It's the new Joe Rayo cell phone for people over 50. Yes, you too could have a new cell phone for people over 50, made by the Luddite Corporation, makers of typewriters, dictaphones, telegraphs, handheld calculators, and buggy whips.
but you're missing out on the bonus question, Joe.
Well, what was the bonus question?
Who originally sang Frosty the Snowman?
Burl Ives.
No,
Oh,
Frosty
good.
the Snowman.
Uh, Frost. You know what you're gonna tell me, and I'm gonna say, of course, that's who sang it. Well, Bill Burl Ives sang in Rudolph the
Rudolph
Red-Nosed
the
Reindeer.
Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Uh, oh God. No, I know you're gonna tell me. Oh, Jimmy Durante.
Believe it or not, no,
No.
he was not the first. No, at least this is according to the chairman now.
Go ahead, give me the name.
Gene Autry.
You know what? Yes. Uh, I can hear Gene Autry singing that in a, you know, like during Christmas time when they play Christmas music. If you get one of these, if you get one of these cable channels that plays the holiday music, you'll get that Gene Autry version will come up at some point. Especially if there's something with classic Christmas carols, that will come up.
Well, there you go. But I know I could see a lot of people said Jimmy Durante because of Frosty the Snowman, the TV show. But no, he was not the first to sing it. Apparently,
Uh,
Frost, Frosty the Snowman was a
but he
jolly
but
happy
but
soul.
Jimmy Durante did sing it in the show though. In the
He sung it in the
cartoon.
show. He sung it in the show, and apparently he did a version of it back in the 1950s or 40s with real live kids, ad libbing or whatever with him. But anyway, that's tonight's Briller Jeopardy, and I thank you for the cell phone because I love that cell phone.
Yeah, I figured you would. I saw
My
that.
daughter,
I
my
saw.
daughter who got my daughter who actually helped my wife in getting me a cell phone. The ringtone on that is indeed a phone ringing, believe it or not.
Oh, I've heard that before. That's one of the things I did today. I finally uh, I had a Samsung Galaxy an S7. Okay, and I don't know how many years ago I got it. It's so long ago, and they're up to 21 now or something, or 20. So I actually got they're up to 21. I picked up a new cell phone, and I have to tell you, I mean, I've never been one that doesn't, you know, I don't, I'm okay with technology. I used to be a lot faster with grasping it, but I'm finding as I'm getting older, it's becoming a little bit more difficult. So now, when you get a new cell phone, you have to do everything on your own. When you activate it, you move your stuff. It's very easy. It's easy to move your stuff from an old phone to a new phone. You just have to press the right buttons to do it. But today was a bit of a frustrating day because the person who I got the cell phone from at the cell phone store, I won't mention which company, but I apparently, um, uh, didn't input my information right. So when I went to activate the phone, I couldn't do it. So then I had to get on the phone, that not the one I was trying to activate, but my old phone, and get somebody from this company. And it took them almost the better part of an hour to finally get someone. And I did get someone who helped me, straightened it out. It was relatively easy, but it just was a little bit frustrating because I expected to go into this place and that they would do most of that work for me, but they just don't do that anymore. But I got my new phone and I'm used to it and I'm happy. Another super chat hit from Mr. Scott. Thank you so much. And what is my favorite kind of music? Well, I don't know. I enjoy music, but a lot of people are like really, really into music, and they've got their playlists and they have their, their uh, Spotify stuff or whatever, wherever they keep their music lists, or on their iPhone or their iPods or whatever it is. I just never really was a big music person. I was a tenor in a choir for 20 years. I really enjoyed. So I mean, if you want to do, a Briller Jeopardy of Catholic hymns, I think even those I've probably forgotten who wrote them. But I'm just, music is just not my thing. Movies are. I probably recognize some more older songs than, certainly nothing that's been done in the last 20 years. I would even remotely recognize. So that's me.
Okay.
And you, are you a music buff or no?
No, not really. I'm not really. I mean, I listen. The people the people who I enjoy the most, and I would love to have gone to a concert, are all dead. So can't say much. What they were: Nat King Cole,
Mm-hmm.
Harry Chapin, and Karen Carpenter. And if I listen to music in the car, those are the three singers that I'll listen to. But again, they're all gone. So
Yeah,
it's
I started listening to country music now that I'm down here. Um, and actually, it helped me with my dog when I was trying to calm him down, riding in the truck, because he always was barking his head off. And sometimes I put the country music on, and it would settle him. But it's kind of interesting because there are these sort of repeating themes that run through a lot of these country music songs. And, you know, it took me a little while to kind of get used to it. But I could listen to I could listen to that because they're generally not misogynistic or violent. Although there was this one country song recently that I heard that was sung by a woman. I don't know who it was. I didn't get the name of the artist, but it's the scariest song I think I've ever heard. It basically, Joe, she tells her husband that you married me for life, and so help me God, if you break your vows, I'm going to kill you, and then I'm going to tell the Undertaker to get me a second plot because I'm going to be in the one next to you. I got 2 bullets here waiting for you. This thing says. It's like, oh my God, what is that? I'm not making this up. This was the song, and I heard this, and the music in the background, the orchestration. They must have found every eerie sounding note that there is on the piano and the guitar and whatever other instruments they were using. It scared the daylights out of me after you hear something like that.
well on that happy note, Joe.
Yes, on that note. It's been a long show tonight. It's an hour and 15 minutes. This is what happens when you go away on a Sunday. So yeah, how did
I
we?
haven't been out of this room. I haven't been out of this room now in 3 hours. I did a library talk at 6:30, so I got on at 6:15 ahead of the library, did the talk, did the Q&A, transitioned into our show tonight, and now this thing has gone like for an hour and 15 minutes. So it's now been 3 hours since I've seen my lovely wife upstairs.
Yeah. So Christinapedia says if I backed up my phone on the cloud, I would just set up the new iPhone and restore. Yeah, no, it's true. I don't use the cloud option on this particular company's phone because they nickel and dime you on so many things. It's another $10 a month or whatever it is. So I've got everything backed up on Google Drive. So it was simple enough to move it from Google Drive. It's just that because they didn't input the information in their system regarding the sale of this phone, I could not activate it. So once that problem was taken care of, I was able to do what I needed to do, and it was very easy. But I don't. That's the reason why I don't keep it up on the cloud, because it's another $10 a month that I just don't want to spend, and that's all there is to it. Now we can say goodbye. Why don't you say wait before we say goodbye? Let's do one last mention of the sponsors of the Joe and Joe Weather Show, which is brought to you by, if I can manage to bring it up on the screen and not embarrass myself even more, Wholesale Holiday Lighting by Giannini, your complete holiday lighting specialist, meeting all your decorating needs. And don't laugh, folks, because Christmas is getting closer. And by the way, I should mention, if you have not been paying attention, with all these supply chain disruptions, if you got to get toys for kids, you better get it now, because it's going to be almost impossible to find stuff by the time we get to October and November. But back to Wholesale Holiday Lighting by Giannini, your complete holiday lighting specialist, meeting all your decorating needs. So you get these guys to do your house, and this way you can just do what you got to do as far as shopping is concerned. You don't have to worry about getting your house decorated. 162 Ocean Avenue in Lindenhurst, 631-957-5106. The website is liholidaylighting.com. And also brought to you by our friends at Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon. If I can ever get their thing up on the screen. Here we go. Oh, Mr. Mouse. Here we go. There it is. Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon. 631-756-1125 is the phone number, and the website is omnitruevalue.com. So we will see you tomorrow night. Maybe we'll have a tropical storm on the map, and maybe we won't. We shall see.
Goodbye.
Nighty-night, everybody.